the IRGC that has the guns and the missiles. Whatever Galibaf promises, whatever Pezeshkian says, it has very little meaning if the IRGC is not on board. People don't know. Iran is saying the Hormuz is closed. The US is saying it's open. When you say it's open, and when the US says it's open, which means that the US is taking guarantee for safe passage of ships. And today, even the Iranians realize that the Strait of Hormuz is more important than having a nuclear weapon. If the Iranians let you go, the Americans will stop you. And if you have permission from the Americans, the Iranians will shoot you. Iran has now discovered that the Strait of Hormuz is more powerful than 100 nuclear weapons. And Iran will use the Strait of Hormuz whenever you don't listen to Iran. After all the diplomacy in Pakistan, in Oman, in Qatar, and in Switzerland, it has come down to vengeance. And today I'm going to tell you how geopolitics is driven by vengeance, especially when it comes to Iran. Hi, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching Open Collar. So you've taken the story from the Arab News. Iran's Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei in written message says, revenge for his slain predecessor and father is demand of the nation and must certainly take place. And this is the total text. This is what they are saying, and this is coming from the Supreme Leader of Iran, Mujtaba Khamenei. This, my friends, is the text, the exact quote. Vengeance is the will of our nation and must inevitably be carried out, says Iran's Supreme Leader in a written message. Earlier, Trump had said that any attempt to assassinate him would lead the US to completely decimate Iran. I've been saying this for a very long time. There are two parties as far as Iran is concerned, and there's a power struggle going on. There's a power struggle going on in the corridors of power in Iran. One side is led by people like Galibaf, like Pezeshkian, and Arakchi. You can call them the diplomats. You can call them peacemakers. They're also hardline. But they would like to give diplomacy a chance. On the other side, you have the IRGC. The IRGC reports to Mujtaba Khamenei. They report to the Supreme Leader. They work outside the framework of the government of Iran. And it is the IRGC that has the guns and the missiles. Whatever Galibaf promises, whatever Pezeshkian says, it has very little meaning if the IRGC is not on board. Now, Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei says revenge must certainly take place. And they're saying this is the demand of the nation. And here, Donald Trump is not making things easier. He's saying 1,000 missiles are locked and loaded and aimed at the Islamic Republic. If they try to eliminate me, or if they eliminate me, decimate Iran. This is what Donald Trump is saying. U.S. Iran war, live updates, fresh explosions in Iran's Bandar Abbas, Qasem Island, and U.S. declares Hormuz open. Now, this is a debate that is happening all over the world. People don't know. Iran is saying the Hormuz is closed. The U.S. is saying it's open. U.S. Central Command declared the Strait of Hormuz remains open for lawful navigation despite Iran's announcement that it is closed. You see, Iran's IRGC declared the Strait of Hormuz closed until further notice. They've come out and they've said it's closed. But the US is saying it's open, and people are confused because if you try to cross the Strait of Hormuz, when you say it's open, and when the US says it's open, which means that the US is taking guarantee for safe passage of ships. Otherwise, this is just a tweet. This is nothing more than a tweet, what US Central Command has said. Can US Central Command guarantee that ships can pass through the Strait of Hormuz without any fear? Can they give that guarantee? I don't think so. I think the IRGC controls the Strait of Hormuz. The US Central Command is not inside the Strait of Hormuz. The US Central Command is pretty much in the Gulf of Oman, which is towards the east. It is not towards the west. It is not towards the Persian Gulf. They do not control Hormuz. IRGC controls Hormuz. And it's very easy to control Hormuz as far as the IRGC is concerned. It's extremely easy. What do? First of all, they declare that it's shut. 70%, 80% of the traffic dies down immediately. They'll simply not move. It's just an announcement. And so far, Iran has done nothing. I'm trying to paint a hypothetical scenario here. Iran has done nothing. For example, Iran just announces it's shut. 80% of the traffic dies down immediately. People who are moving towards the Strait of Hormuz take a U-turn and go back to their ports. Next step, if there are one or two ships that try to cross through Omani waters, they are fired upon by the Iranians. Once you fire upon ships, now these are not battleships that they'll fire back or they'll hit back. These are cargo ships. They're carrying oil, they're carrying gas, they're carrying so many other things, daily necessities. They're carrying all of that, whether they're going into the Strait of Hormuz or exiting the Strait of Hormuz, doesn't matter. Once you target ships, mass fear takes over, insurance rates go up, logistics goes up, everything goes up. The price of commodities goes up. This is exactly the game that Iran is playing here. Now, the US carried out third round of strikes hitting 140 Iranian military targets. US strikes followed Iran's attack on the Cyprus-flagged container ship MV GFS Galaxy, which has 11 Indian on board in the Strait of Hormuz. Qatar temporarily suspended all marine navigation and activities. Oman proposed managing Hormuz traffic through two separate shipping routes. Iran stated no vessel passage through Hormuz would be permitted until stability is restored. Iran hit US bases in Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain and Jordan. Now, what Oman is saying here that Oman proposed managing Hormuz traffic through two separate shipping routes. That's not possible. That is not possible. And today, even the Iranians realize that the Strait of Hormuz is more important than having a nuclear weapon. This is more important. A nuclear weapon will threaten Israel. A nuclear weapon will threaten America's allies. Closure of the Strait of Hormuz threatens the entire world. Iran knows that it has the goose that lays the golden eggs. Iran is not about to let it go just because Oman proposes managing Hormuz traffic through two separate shipping routes. Now, what are these two shipping routes? There is the north route and the south route. The north route goes through Irani waters. Then the south route goes through Oman. Now, Oman wants that the traffic should be passing through Omani waters. But Oman cannot guarantee that those ships passing through Omani waters will not be attacked by Iran, because that is exactly what has been happening. These ships that have been attacked lately have not passed through Iranian waters. They're going through Omani waters. And yet they've been attacked. Now, these are two series of strikes on the 11th and the 12th of July. The black strikes are attacks on Iran and the red strikes are attacks on US sites. So this is what the US has done. Shahid Bakri base, Dasful, is one. Umidia is number 2. Hormuz is number 3. These are the 3 new sites that have been attacked. And again, 3 other sites were attacked, which have been attacked before by the United States of America. There is Bandar Abbas, a very, very famous and a very important port. There is Kesham Island, again, extremely important, and Jusk Terminal. Jusk Terminal is again, a very important terminal as far as export of oil is concerned. This has been hit. All these 3 targets have been hit before, and these are relatively new targets. Now, US sites or US military sites that have been attacked by Iran. Let's start from Azraq in Amman. This was hit. Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait. This was hit. Then you have Manama at Bahrain, Al Udaid base in Qatar, and Duqm, which is in Oman. So, attacks on Iran and then attacks on US bases. This to and fro is continuing. Now, this is what is happening. Iran shuts down Hormuz. US insists Tehran doesn't control vital strait. Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority, PGSA, an agency created by Tehran in May to oversee shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, said vessels would not be allowed to pass because of US military activity in the region. And this is what the PGSA says. We hereby inform all esteemed applicants, due to the recent illegal movements of the United States military forces in the region, passage through Strait of Hormuz is currently not possible. As soon as stability and calm are restored, all requests will be reviewed, and based on the schedule and the necessary permits will be issued. Now, this is again July 12th, and here on July 12th, US Central Command says the Strait of Hormuz is open to all vessels seeking to lawfully transit the international waterway. And nobody can guarantee safety. If the Iranians let you go, the Americans will stop you. And if you have permission from the Americans, the Iranians will shoot you. This is where we stand today. Iran does not control the strait. Donald Trump says U.S. Central Command says more than 2,000 commercial vessels had safely transited the Strait of Hormuz since the conflict began, countering Iran's claim that waterway was closed. President Donald Trump says Iran does not control the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. described Iran's declaration of closing the strait as illegitimate, maintaining that freedom of navigation would continue. So, essentially, by saying that it's illegitimate, U.S. is admitting that Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. They should have said that it's fake. If the US really wanted to say that we control Strait of Hormuz and Iran does not, they should have said that Iran saying that they control the Strait of Hormuz is lies, it's wrong, it's fake. They're saying it is illegitimate. Of course it is. Of course it is illegitimate. If people want to pass through Omani waters and Iran fires upon them, it's illegitimate, it's wrong, it's illegal. Nobody's saying otherwise. But the fact of the matter is that Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. All they have to do is shoot one ship. One drone, one ship. That's it. Traffic stops. This is a blank map, friends, and this is what I wanted to actually communicate for a very long time. What India needs to do is, I think what India should do is, over a period of time, forget about this. Because once Iran has discovered its superpower, once Iran has discovered its strength, that maybe it's not so much nuclear weapons, it's more about the Strait of Hormuz. Iran will exercise this because there are no repercussions. Once you fire a nuclear weapon at an enemy, there are very severe repercussions. The world will come upon you and the world is absolutely going to take you apart. There is no forgiveness for using a nuclear weapon in today's day and age. Which is why, since Hiroshima and Nagasaki, nuclear weapons have not been used in war. But if they choose to do that, they know that the repercussions would be absolutely horrendous. Absolutely. Even if they have a nuclear weapon at a later date. But stopping traffic to the Strait of Hormuz has absolutely no repercussions at all. In fact, people will be grateful once they've opened it up. And Iran can close it at will. And Iran has shown since 28th of February that it can switch on and switch off at will, because this is a cheap option. You don't need to spend billions of dollars. Let me explain to you. Let's assume that all these dots are actually ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Let's assume that these dots are ships that are going this way and they're carrying oil. All that Iran needs to do is shoot this one. And this is hypothetical. Just hit one ship. You don't need to sink the ship. You don't need to completely set it on fire. You don't need to fire a cruise missile at the ship. No, one or two cheap drones, very cheap drones at a ship. These large cargo ships are like ducks. They're slow, they're heavy, they move very slowly. They don't have weaponry. They don't have anti-aircraft equipment or platforms with them. They are sitting ducks. Anybody can attack them. If you have the weapons and the training, you can attack a ship. It's not such a big deal. So what's actually happening is, if you look at this traffic, and I'm just saying that, let us say these are 50 ships. As soon as one ship is hit, these will try to make a getaway. Or if they are smart, they will speak to the Iranians here and they'll all turn back and go back. That is what is going to happen. And suddenly, you have a rise in, or you have a sharp increase in insurance rates. You have a sharp increase as far as the fees are there for the ships, the insurance of the crew, everything goes up. And oil suddenly becomes more expensive. That is if you manage to find a crew that is willing to violate the Iranian blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. There'll be very rare people who are willing to do that because nobody wishes to die. So here is what India should do, and I've been saying this for a very, very long time. You need to have a pipeline that goes from here and goes from here to this place. That's pretty much it. You need to figure out, you need to invest your oil and gas, whether you have Bahrain joining in, Qatar joining in, the UAE joining in, something which is more than 1,000 kilometers away from Iran. Pipelines going all the way from, you can have the Kuwaitis joining in. You figure out a pipeline which comes here in Oman, and from here it goes directly. You can have ships from here, or you can have an undersea pipeline. People do it all the time. India must invest that kind of money. If you do not do this, you will always suffer. Your economy will suffer simply because Iran has now discovered that the Strait of Hormuz is more powerful than 100 nuclear weapons. And Iran will use the Strait of Hormuz whenever you don't listen to Iran. That is the truth. Thank you for watching this episode of Open Collar. I'll be back soon, very shortly, with another interesting episode. Till then, Jai Hind.